It's Friday. How are we doing, everyone? Thank you for joining us. So what's happening? Forbidden Lands expansion, Sourcebook, etc. has funded. Avatar is still going. 6 days left and 10 million, billion, cajillion Uber dollars in surprising funds. There's also some interesting things that have come on the market and are funding right now. We've got, let's see, Sla Industries. We've got a really interesting book that's a cross between a botany book and an RPG source book. And lots more. Japanese traitor-based one-shot Yakuza, awesome. I haven't got the words. There's some really interesting stuff. Let's talk all about it. So with Devious Dungeons, Foreboding Forests, and The Coolest Cats, welcome to Kickstart Your Weekend at the Dark Orb. And here we go. We're joined with some great friends today. I will make sure that everyone is unmuted or we're not going to get very far. Martin, welcome back to the stream.
Thank you. It's nice that you are having me on again. Hopefully not getting sick of me yet.
If you guys are sick of Martin already, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, go. Andy, Yoel, get in there. Let them
if you
know.
want to see less of Martin on the stream, then hit that like button and definitely subscribe to us. And don't forget to comment. Paul, welcome back.
Yo.
How you doing?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
I'm pretty good. It's been a long week and lots has come on that's been really interesting in the Kickstarter world. I think we've got a few things that we're going to talk about that have been around for a little while, but there's some interesting things that have appeared, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yes,
we have a new face today. Very, very, very thankful that you've decided to join us. Avril, welcome to the show. Can't hear you. Gah.
You could just put yourself on mute rather than took yourself off mute.
No, maybe muted on the headset. We heard you earlier. It's really weird. Let's try now. No, we can't hear you.
I think I just about hear something there.
yeah, it might be your levels have gone down. We will get Avril back in a second. She was fine when we were testing.
Technology.
Let's make a start, and Avril will hear your dulcet tones any second, I'm sure. Right, what's happening? Has anyone had anything in the post this week?
Nope.
Yeah, I had a Kickstarter
bank statements.
come in.
Ooh,
I had a
what did you get?
Well, it's a Kickstarter that it actually fulfilled quite a while ago, but there were two levels for the physical edition. There was the POD, and then there was an offset print. I plumped for the offset print, and it was this.
Ooh,
Worlds Without Number. Kevin Crawford's latest masterpiece. I don't know. I really like Kevin Crawford's stuff. He's done. Well, this is kind of the follow-up to Stars Without Number. So Worlds Without Number is kind of the fantasy version. So he's also done Godbound, which was a kind of Exalted-like game. And yeah, it's great. I mean, the thing that I love about Kevin Crawford's work is that he really puts so much in there in terms of GM tools. There's like roll table after roll table and idea after idea, and you can just kind of like pick the bits that you want out of it. The setting itself is okay. It's fine. He made a couple of choices in it which I wasn't too happy about. He used the term demi-humans, which I don't really like. And It's along that kind of races thing. I much prefer things like heritage
I should
and
do this
kin.
on camera so you can understand where the sound's coming from. Sorry, guys.
So yeah, he went down a couple of paths in the official setting, which I wasn't too happy with. But all of the GM tools in there are second to none. And what I would recommend is, if you're interested in it, it's an OSR type game. Go on DriveThruRPG. You can get a free copy, which usually with most of his books he offers a free copy, which is about half the book, and it's to try and entice you to get the full thing, which generally is all the back matter in there. It's all the really interesting things. So Worlds Without Number. I recommend it for the GM tools alone.
Can I have some clarification here? So it's called Worlds Without Number, but there's a whole lot of tables in it. Is that right?
Yeah. So I suppose worlds with lots of numbers.
A bit like mine. The only limitations there are your own imagination.
Exactly. Paul.
Yeah, but you've not called yours Space Without Number.
No, it was under the working title of Sci-Fi Bollocks.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Which I still think is its true name.
Not
Actually,
one
Paul,
single playtester is actually calling it Weird Space yet. Not one.
I wanted to
Well,
ask
that's not what it's
Paul.
called.
I saw that at least it looked like your backer kit was still open for Weird Space. Is that true? Can you still order from that, or
Yes,
are you
yes, you can.
closed now? You can.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can, yeah.
And
Not closed
what
it
was
down
that? Was that
deliberately.
Weird Space RPG?
Weird Space RPG.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was eyeing it up. I was looking at that. Yes, that indeed. I was just checking because I noticed that you'd said that people needed to fill their backer kits in. You were going to close it soon, so I wanted to check that it was actually still open. People can still place orders.
And you too can run on the D100 Bitten by a Zombie table.
Oh, you like that one, do you?
I've just found it.
Nice.
The idea is with that is you've got a 30% chance of actually surviving being bitten by a zombie, but those 30 are scattered throughout a D100 table, so nobody's
they're
going to
not all
remember
on a block.
exactly which one is which. Plus, of course, not only have you got to survive being bitten by a zombie, but you've also got to survive the other players who know you've been bitten by a zombie. That's just the difficult bit.
Yeah.
When you've got one option where you become an undead yourself, but you're fully sentient, so you're pretty much a lich. Or if you get like a critical fail on it, you could very well be a carrier, and if and when you die, you'll explode like an infected nail bomb. Are you going to take that risk?
I'm just going to share this. There we go. So yeah, if you do want to do a late pledge, you can get there through linktree.ee/WeirdSpaceRPG.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like your tables and you like your sci-fi bollocks, do it. But we won't hear any complaints about the fact that Paul's completely redecided what a percentile die is.
If you roll 0, 0, it's a 0.
No.
Yeah. Like the one rule in the book which you can't argue with. It says in the book.
I know. That's why I said you can't argue with it. You can't argue about it. So what did I have? I had I received this today. The Into the Mist. City of Mist. Into the Mist. Sadly, it arrived with a little bit of damage. And you'll see those of you who follow us on Twitter, Twitter/Dark Orb, will spot that, yeah, unfortunately, there was nowhere near enough packaging to fill out the empty space in the cardboard box, which is a shame. That said, I've now got no excuse. I'm going to have to read the damn thing, right?
Do it.
Yeah.
What? Get the cellophane off it at least. Like unwrap it.
But with the cellophane on, then I get to keep the barcode. No. I just haven't done it yet because I've taken the cellophane off the core set, but I think I'm probably going to run the starter set first, just because, as everyone now knows, I'm just not very confident with Powered by the Apocalypse. I've enjoyed it when I played it, but I've not quite yet running it. I ran Trophy Dark. I don't think that was a great game. And we did record it. It was on the YouTube for a while, but I'm just not happy with it. And I've not gone back to it. So I need to break that curse. And I did say I was going to run Cult. It was my New Year's resolutions. If you want to see that episode, it's right back at towards the beginning of the YouTube backlog. I fulfilled my resolution of playing Nemesis, which was great. I died within half an hour, and the other half kept on playing for about 3 hours and completely finished the scenario. But I haven't got Cult down yet. But maybe I should do City of Mist anyway, as it might be a little bit less. And part of the reason why I haven't run Cult is because I'm nervous of upsetting people. And yes, Andy, still shrink wrapped because it only arrived today. And
that's the excuse he's sticking to.
Day.
So, Andy, the pole in the background, that's not mine. That's Avril's. In that direction.
Yeah. So that's why, Andy, I'm mildly curious as to why Paul has a lap dance pole in the background. I'm entertained that Andy knows exactly that it's a pole dancing pole and not just structural.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it an X pole though? We still can't hear you. Damn it.
It is an X pole, yes. If I remember right, it's the non-spinning version, the static one. I'm getting nods and thumbs up there. There we go.
Yeah, we've got a spinny, locky one somewhere in the house. Speaking of non-tabletop games. Avril, do you want to try closing your browser and reopening it, and that might reconnect your audio, and I'll re-add you in. Right, shall we make a start talking about things what aren't but I know that Avril isn't going to talk about. Yeah, Kickstarters, that's a good idea. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
Let's do that one, yeah.
So anyone want to kick off with any particular projects? Oh, we can hear Avril now.
Yeah, just not on her machine. She's just grabbing a secondary headset there just to see if we can fix things.
Yeah, it's probably just the browser being awkward, particularly if you've got someone on Discord open. It can kind of break things a little bit.
Could very well be it, actually. Yeah, she probably has got Discord switched on.
Yeah, it could
she uses that for all of the gaming.
All the gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could well be.
Right, sure. Shall we kick off with a bit of Sla Industries?
Sla Industries, let's do it.
Sla Industries, yes.
Let me just bring that one up. Where are we?
They've got a recently done Kickstarter as well as a new one as well.
Yes, so let's share that. Just finding the tab now, as I have many, many tabs open. Collateral.
That's the one, yes.
Boom. I go to the top. So, Sla Industries is a game. I remember when the first second edition non-miniatures Kickstarter was out, and I had backed it. And then at the very last minute, I cancelled backing it because it was expensive and the rules looked really crunchy. And I'm okay with crunchy rules, but I need to be confident that it's going to get to the table. And if I'm not too mistaken, it looked like, we were going to be in a lockdown and that wasn't going to be fun. I can't remember if it was during lockdown. I think it was. Anyway, I cancelled my pledge with a couple of days left, and then mightily regretted it. And I nearly went to their table at Games Expo this year, knowing full well that there was probably going to be a bundle on there. Paul, you played the first edition of Sla Industries, right?
I did. This is actually the first sci-fi game, first sci-fi tabletop game I ever played.
And how was it? Do you want to talk us through the world? Do you remember enough about it to give us sort of a lowdown of that?
No, to be honest with you, I've not actually picked the book up in like 20 years, so
you must have been like 5.
I did play it as well back in the day. I remember playing a frother back in the day.
Isn't that what they now call a barista?
Yes. Yeah, they're like these superhuman, massive, muscly, kilt-wearing, drug-addicted mutant freaks that go around and basically hit people with big claymores. In the setting, I just remember really liking it at the time because I think it was kind of at the height of D&D third ed, and it was just this kind of breath of fresh air in our group because we'd kind of come off the back of Vampire, and then everyone was then into new at the time D&D, and then like a friend of a friend brought this book, and like the artwork was just completely different to anything I'd seen before, and it's like turned to like the frother, and I was like, yes, big claymore, kilt, drug use, count me in. That's me. So yeah,
I mean, that
I
pretty much
remember.
represents their stall at Games Expo as well. No, I mean, from what I recall, I mean, I remember Sla Industries being around, first of all, so I had quite a few friends that were playing it, but I was playing Vampire at the time. But I kind of picked it up as being like a Smash TV Running Man kind of thing.
Running Man's not that far off, actually. Except the entire planet is full of the killers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and
it always had like a kind of nightmarish dreamscape element to me as well, where like you weren't quite sure all of the text. I mean, this is in the first edition, so all the text seemed to kind of point to no one. There was like lots of conflicting information. No one was quite sure exactly what the truth was, and I think I liked that about it as well because at the time, in D&D and Vampire, it's like Vampire had this big kind of like meta story where everyone kind of knew what was happening with the Camarilla and the Sabbat, and D&D, the world that you're in. If you're in Forgotten Realms, it was this kind of like everyone knows every NPC in the world. And then this came along and it was like, no one's really quite sure what's going on here. Is it real? Is it not? It doesn't really matter when you've got a claymore and some drugs, It's
we're still talking about the game, mate.
well, I mean, yeah, there was some blurring of the lines. No. Yeah, it's not the claymore at least.
University Claymore Society.
Yeah. It was
Andy
good
says
fun.
we used to joke that Slay stood for such lame artwork.
Oh no.
Yeah,
different, not worse.
No.
Yeah, even I didn't have a problem with the artwork.
No.
But I was too busy ogling Cult and wishing that they'd sell me that as a 14-year-old kid.
Well,
damn you, Games Room in Norwich, for making the right call.
To be fair, Cult makes every book look a little bit on the shoddy side.
Yeah,
with that artwork.
Yeah. So going back to the game at hand, Sla Industries, 2nd edition, Collateral. So it's a source book for Sla Industries.
It's already
I mean, look at that awful artwork on the cover. I mean, that's just so awful. That's really lame.
To be honest with you, I'm not a really big fan of that one. The other guy on the right hand side, though, he's pretty snacky.
This one, snacky. You want to put him in a sandwich? Bit of mayonnaise, it'll be fine. Salt and pepper.
So I think it's actually 2 books, isn't it?
There are 2 books.
Yeah. I think it's like a big. Sorry, you go, Paul.
It's got to the point now with the Kickstarter that they've got stretch goals, so that's a 2nd book they're going to be releasing as part of it now.
This is Sanjiro commenting on Andy's statement about the artwork. Could get you attacked.
Wow, they are Scottish company.
Let's have a quick look. So, I mean, look, this just looks awesome. So the first one is horrifying threats and supportive allies. I presume the second one is alien species, which is, you can see a really blurry image on the Kickstarter of how the book will look inside. I really hope it doesn't look like that. It's super blurry.
There is a link.
Super blurry.
I think there is a link to
there's
a beta Kickstart which they have at the minute, which I think is free. You can pay nothing for.
Yes, absolutely. They had that quick start during the first campaign as well, and it was that quick start that convinced me not to buy it. To be fair, but I'm still second guessing that. I think this for me would be a game that I'd have to run at the table.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that one. I mean, given that they are a proper company, the
other types of gaming companies do exist.
Other gaming companies, as well as independents, do exist. But their proofreader could do with a couple of extra people, I think, on his team.
That's quite often the case. I mean, if you've ever read a Free League book,
just looking on the quick start on drive-through, there's only like 3 or 4 comments on it, and they're pretty much all, I've spotted a mistake here, or there's the rule here that doesn't make sense, or what about this?
Now, I suspect that they rushed that through for the first.
Oh yeah, they will have done through just because of COVID. They'll have had a bit of time to do it, stuck it through.
Well, yeah, but I think they rushed that through during the original Kickstarter, which was when. Hang on, let me have a look.
I mean, thankfully, with things like drive-through RPG and PDFs especially, it's nice and easy to update it and make sure everybody's got the best version.
No, I'm wrong. The estimated delivery was 2019 October, so I've got my timescales wrong.
I think that they've currently got on as a link off the this Kickstarter. They've also currently got the core rulebook PDF, which is reduced. They've currently got it on offer. So if you did want to check the full rulebook,
it's on drive-through at the moment now for like 12 quid.
Yeah, so if you did want to check it out, you could get it for a significantly reduced price. I mean, I feel mixed about this. Yeah, I mean, I feel mixed about this because I had such a good time playing it back in the day, and it still looks like it's got a lot of that to it. But I don't.
I got to say, this I think is quite good value to an extent.
Yeah,
because you get some PDFs, you get a quick start, you get the GM pack. Whereas this one, well, let me put it this way: you can pick up a copy of the core book, the collector's edition of the core book, for about 50 quid. It's not the collector's edition that was on the original campaign, because there was like a really swanky, snazzy leatherette edition, which was probably, thinking about it, I think that's one of the reasons I cancelled, because by the time you get it to the Phil edition, it starts adding up, because I'm not very good at not going all in. But there is like a retail collector's edition, which only has 500 copies, and there are a few places like Zatu that have still got that for just over 50 quid. So you could, by all means, get this and a collector's edition for the same price as this straight out of many, and then not end up with the Pumpkinhead kind of standard core book. But you'll miss out on the ugly dice.
They're not pretty dice, are they?
No, they do have pretty dice. They
also got pretty dice. It's just below the Andrew E.C. Gasker award-winning writer doing an extra bit for him at 35k.
What I would say to anyone who's considering backing it in the EU, they're actually going to be using UK DDP, delivery duty paid, which means that unlike a lot of Kickstarters, if you order it in the EU now, you won't have to pay import fees. Ooh. So that nowadays, with the new EU VAT rules and everything like that, and Brexit nonsense, that they come in quite a bit for some EU countries. So it's it's good from that side. Obviously, it'll be baked into your pledge at some point, but it's not something that you'll get smacked with when you get it delivered. So
is that going to be a case of your shipping's then a ridiculous amount just to offset that? Can you hear me now?
We got an Avril.
I kept being very southern, I'm afraid, and not wanting to interrupt to see if this was working.
The EU to US postage says it's £8 to £16. So that's not actually that crazy.
That's really good, to be fair.
Yeah.
And just to point out, Avril, this is unrelated, but I feel you do need to be very southern so that we can, balance the books. And I'll do my best to remain southern and not do what I normally do, which is just adopt half of whatever accent the person I'm talking to has.
Oh, please don't adopt Paul's, please. I get enough of northern.
Don't know what you mean.
There's no wrong with northern.
Right, hang on.
Ouch.
Let's just do this properly. So I'm just gonna. There we go. Right.
Oh, north south. You got us the wrong
North,
way.
south,
Then.
divide.
You got
Okay.
us the wrong way.
I suppose I have to get Avril. How south are you originally?
Well, I mean, I'm living in the north,
I know.
but Kent originally.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we're exactly where you need to be then.
How does it work? How does it work for me though? I'm from the north, but I live in the south of Sweden. So
Well, yeah. So it depends on whether you're from more north than Paul or not.
I think north-south, longitude and latitude does make you a bit more northern than the rest of us.
But if we go by current, then Avril and Paul are going to be right. Well, I'll be at the bottom, and Avril and Paul will be in the middle, I guess.
Yeah.
Complicated role-playing.
Let's give up.
So write
But
a
yeah,
randomized table for it.
Yeah, Paul and Martin, you can have a north off to decide who originally is from a more northerly location.
You know what? I don't care.
Good
And
answer.
therefore
It's
you
not.
win.
It's not that important. It's really not.
Therefore,
totally
you win.
important.
You're so northern, you don't care.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
completely
I
blasé.
can't be asked. That's right. Right,
Ah.
northern thing to say.
Reet northern.
Aye.
And for anyone that's listening instead of watching, yeah, you missed out. Sorry.
Watch it on YouTube later. It's like a Dave repeat.
The comments are just as happy that I'm making noise now, apparently. So, yay.
Generic noise. Let
Avril
me
made a
hear
noise.
It'll speak Swedish then. You joke,
Yeah,
but
Phil
I have
speaks
friends.
Swedish then.
I have friends /
Spanglish.
colleagues where I work who are from Eastern Europe, and I don't speak with an accent, but the sentence structure changes depending on who I speak to because it's just quicker.
Mm.
I think that's quite common, really. Order the
WD.
windows in order of beard length. Is that the beard we've got, or the beard we aspire to have? Right, Sla Industries. So the thing is, I have been tempted, and I would be tempted to go all in and just pick the whole thing up. But at that point, I'd then end up with most of it in shrink wrap until I get to the table. Because the reason why I keep things in shrink wrap is so they don't get ruined before I have a chance to properly ruin them. You see, so if I leave it in shrink wrap, then it's going to be fine until that point where I actually start thumbing through it. And then I can ruin it instead of coming back to it a year later and it having, additionally dented corners and bent pages and stuff before I've even properly read it because moving house or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's why. And because if you do decide to sell it, it's going to be worth slightly more. And because I have quite a lot of patience, not in the medical sense.
Instant gratification for me. That stuff gets ripped off as soon as it comes out of the packaging.
That's because you're northern and you rip everything off.
Well, it's because I'm northern. I think someone else will take it away from me.
Yeah, no, that's something I've picked up. I buy a book and it like the wrapping comes off. I've got to look at the artwork. I've got to read through it. Probably gonna sniff it because new book smell.
Yeah.
Just what happens.
Even if it's an old book,
Yep.
Well, then it's got
give
old
it a
book
good
smell.
sniff.
Yeah.
Maybe a different book smell then.
Yeah.
I totally get it, and it isn't easy to not just completely look at it. But I think because I've got a limited amount of free space in my brain at the moment as well, so I know that if I start looking at it, then I'm gonna have to remove something that's actually useful, like the details of the game I'm currently running, in order to actually absorb some of that, and then it all goes horribly wrong, and then I end up with completely the wrong things happening in the game.
I think you should do a stream where you pull out every single thing that is still in shrink wrap and unwrap it on a live stream.
Every single thing?
Every single thing that is still in shrink wrap that you have on your
Every
shelves.
single thing?
And
How
charge
much
people
time do you
to
have?
watch.
Yeah, are we just talking about gaming things here?
Oh, okay. Well,
What else have you got wrapped in shrink wrap?
I couldn't possibly comment.
corpses.
It's got a shrink wrap machine around the back. The
I
neighbour's
get the
dog
feeling
that was
you can't stay
barking.
in
Just...
polite company.
See, Andy's saying this. Phil doesn't remove him from a shrink wrap because then he doesn't feel obliged on him. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Most of the stuff that I've unwrapped, I have run. So I unwrap it when I'm mentally prepared to run it, as opposed to having loads and loads of things that are open and then having like that analysis paralysis. And I still get that. But it's much easier, and actually you need to make a conscious decision that you're going to commit to it. So yeah, anyway, enough psychoanalyzing me, you bastards. Sla Industries.
Come on, I've got to put my degree to some use. Come on.
Well, you live at Paul.
Yeah, that's a lost cause.
Sla Industries, I'm not going to back it. It looks great. If you're interested in this sort of, I mean, we haven't really spoken about the world, but I think this explains it pretty well. Universe in which it operates is a science fiction image of the 80s, where fax machines spews out information alongside green screen computers and vat-grown biogenetic monsters who compete with humans and exotic alien races for work in an overgrown city plunged deep underground. Now, for those of you that don't know what a fax machine is, there is Google. But it's a bit like an email, but printy.
But you have to pay to receive it.
Yeah, you need
noisy.
They are noisy. I guess it depends on what kind of technology they are. But yeah, a dot matrix fax machine. I suppose mostly they were thermal, weren't they? But you've still got the... I remember that shiny thermal paper. We're going off on one now. Buy a fax machine. Then you'll understand what this game's all about. They're
How many
available on
Kickstarters are we supposed to be covering tonight, Phil?
At least one.
The next one's going to be delivered by PDF, through the post, and by fax. Proper old school.
Should we talk about Picaresque Roman?
Do it.
I love the look of this. And I, shock horror, cancelled another game in order to look at this properly. Picaresque Roman is a Japanese anime-inspired table talk RPG. It's actually the 5th edition, but I think it's the 1st edition in English, maybe? That was my interpretation from skimming through it. And basically, you're in one of these mysterious cities with no name, under a dome. And my interpretation of looking at the artwork is it's a little bit like that sort of Blades in the Dark city of permanent noir. Is probably the best way to put it. And you play a rogue among rogues, as it says here. And yeah, you can do what you want. You're in a group of rogues, and you might have something that you're going to do together. What's really interesting is that this game is kind of designed specifically for, or ideally for, one-shots. And you start off with the knowledge that one person in the party, and it might be you, one person in the party is a backstabbing son of a bitch, basically. So someone is a traitor. Movie. Yeah, with a predetermined someone is a traitor, and you don't know who. And I really like that. I think it's different when, I mean, we have this thing of, in, for example, Alien RPG, where someone might be an android and might be working for the company. It's not exactly a new concept. Alien have made it obviously very popular lately. But the thing with that is that you don't know. And I think psychologically, when you do know, that kind of changes the story a little bit, right? You absolutely know that someone is definitely a traitor.
It's a very sort of Pulp Fiction / Battlestar Galactica kind of a vibe to it.
The city with a capital C is the only place that matters. The nexus where crime, corruption, and power meet. I love it. Absolutely love it. Sure, it's got a domed sky. That's a little weird. And the oldest, tallest building is a clock tower with its hand stuck at 432.
What's the significance of 432?
Well, it's right after 431, isn't it?
Before 433 as well, but what's the significance?
Who knows?
Or is that
Play
just
to
when the
find
clock
out.
broke?
Yeah, absolutely. But what happened at 432 that stopped the clock? Maybe that's one of the scenarios. I don't know. And you've got like a bunch of things, like 5 different effectively archetypes. They're the main gigs, and then the side gigs represent your other thing that you do. So you could be a you could be a gambler, but actually you're not just a gambler, you're also a lawyer, and is your daytime role. So it does remind me quite a lot of City of Mist in some ways, but with a very different flavor going on. The character sheet's not overly complicated, and I think, am I right in saying that this was a 2d6 game? I'll have to scan through and double check that.
I think I saw. I was looking through the quick start. It's like it's not a quick start. It's an excerpt. It's like 9 pages, and it certainly had you rolling 2d6 against some of the things you had to do.
Yeah, so it's like slightly PBTA.
Yeah, and I think to me, it looks like the kind of a perfect game for people. Maybe you've got a group of friends and you like to play stuff like Betrayal at House on Hill, things like that, and maybe you want to take the next step towards an RPG with them. You're not quite sure what to do. This looks like the kind of game to go for. Much like that Monty Cook game that came out recently.
Monty Python. The Devil Made Us Do It?
Yeah, which kind of had a box set, and it was like, low prep, bring it to the table, grab a character.
Something about that game really didn't ring with me, though. It's going to be Monty Cook. Well, it is Monty Cook, so it's going to be brilliant. But it just didn't have any pull for me. But actually, I really like the look of this. And I can't explain that. That's very much an emotive thing.
I think the PvP thing might rub some people the wrong way.
Well, you just got to be careful who you invite to your party, right?
Yeah. So I think that might go against it, but stylistically, I like it. And I think it would fit that gap between a full-blown RPG. I mean, it is an RPG, but it's got those mechanics in there that kind of push it a bit more towards those kind of betrayal games. So
I mean, what I was thinking about is, you've got these great big party games that are really popular, like Werewolf, Ultimate Super Deluxe Werewolf.
That's what this reminds me of. Yeah.
On Tour.
So
they all have
super hyper fighting werewolf.
Yes. Especially
super happy mega werewolf.
No, you're just being silly. And Blood on the Clock Tower is the other one, which I really, really like the look of. But to be perfectly honest with you, we're not antisocial people, but we rarely have more than half a dozen, kind of people in a group that we'd actually get together. So I don't think that would ever hit the table, for want of a better word. But this seems to be geared towards 5 to 6 players plus a GM, and that's certainly doable. And I think I could see this hitting the table here. Oh, there's a mature video. We don't even know what it is. Hopefully, it's related. Session flow. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of information on here. I think the pricing structure is really clever, or at least it's not horrible. So PDF, $25. That's a little high, but for $40 you get the book, and they have actually chosen to use the original format that the Japanese editions for the book are in, which are I believe the manga style, the manga size. Book, which kind of would go with if you're a collector of manga, you can put it on the shelf. No one's going to know that you're a nerd because they won't be able to see this book amongst all of your comics. I see Avril's face palming right there. You can hide your RPG away. Don't worry, Avril. No one will see it.
A friend of ours would say that's been hidden behind all of their weeb stuff. Adele, if you're watching, that's you.
You know it's me as well. Don't even
Yeah.
Rogue tier, you get the fancy schwancy special edition, and then the fill edition of the product, where you get all the other stuff that then goes in a box somewhere.
Mental note: put a fill edition on the next book I do.
Only if it comes with extra things that I'm never going to need.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And if you download the sample, it's got 4 of the gigs, which is kind of like the classes in there. It's got 4 of those sample ones in there, so you can have a look and see if it's to your taste. There's like Heartbreaker, Swindler, Info Broker, and Yakuza that are listed. And there's more in the main game. So,
like any of those could make an entire game for themselves, really.
Joel is saying, good to see you, Joel. Sure, you're English, Phil, not from Gothenburg. I presume this is, I don't know. What? Explain yourself. I presumed you were going to make a comment about me and my incessant Vilhöver, but that's probably not what you mean. South London or Norwich, both apply. Neil, Mr. Kingham, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on your hugely successful Starfarer Dice Kickstarter, which ended on Friday. Did really well. Neil has been very kind in offering us a discount code for his Paladin role-playing dice. So if that's something that you would like, you can get, I believe, 15% off your first purchase at paladinroleplaying.com using that code right there. And there's some beautiful dice. Starfarer, I presume, are not going to be there for a little while. He's got some really nice other stuff: resin dice and wooden dice and metal dice and gemstone dice and dice bags and no rice. But yeah, congratulations, Neil. Good to see you. I am, as I said already, yeah, I'm definitely looking at Picaresque Roman. I just think it's a really interesting product.
Do you think the name of the game might have been mistranslated? Because Picaresque Roman doesn't seem to mean anything.
Picaresque is from it's a Spanish word which means like rogue. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's from that. It's a style of, I think it's a style of novel, Picaresque, that like focused on people from like lower income backgrounds that survived through their wits. Yeah, that's the kind of characters you're supposed to play in the game.
Oh, so it's rogue the game.
Pretty much.
Right.
You couldn't be any more rogue. Picaresque Rouge. Yeah, there we go. Yes. What else should we talk about? How about I need to do some proverbial gushing at this point about the third product that was on our promo image. I'm so in love with this for various reasons. One is we're a household that does like botany, more so my other half than me. But she originally was looking at becoming a horticulturalist, and I'm sure she will at some point do that officially or formally, to be more accurate. Little bit of background on me. For a little while, I was actually practicing pagan and doing natural magic as part of that before I then went back to my sort of scientific roots. But for, when you're in your late teens and your early 20s, you're still finding who you are, and that absolutely intrigued me. And yes, I know Avril is somewhat of that persuasion, and I have no criticisms of that. And as I was following natural magic, which is all about herbalism, etc., this spoke to me in that regard. Also, we have a collection of exotic pets, and that has been shrinking over time, and we haven't really been replacing it, but we still have a number of snakes and tarantulas. And I went to quite a few conferences, and one of those conferences had a talk about a naturalist, which now means like David Attenborough kind of, oh look, they've gone somewhere exotic. with a script and they're going to talk to you about wildlife. But go back a while, and it really was about exploring and documenting what you found. And there was an amazing woman called Madame Marion who did this and did some wonderful artwork. And she ended up with books that looked very much like this. And I'm going to show you now what that is. We are, of course, talking about Herbalist Primer. I really, really love this product so much. It's like an interesting blend of actual botany book with like 100 different plants that are described in relative scientific accuracy. They've got a real herbalist and botanist rather on board to help with the scientific accuracy, but then they take that scientific accuracy and they expand on it. So rather than going into huge amounts of detail about certain aspects, they instead choose to take those bits of folklore and incorporate them as fact. We'll scroll through the campaign, but I actually have open as well the sort of demo PDF, if you like, just to sort of compare that. I'm fascinated by this product. Pricing wise, it's 30 quid, $40 for the hardcover edition. And the stretch goals are interesting. Scientific editing. I love the fact that this book actually has scientific names as well as the common names, if you like, for the plants. Let's have a look. So this looks exactly like a whole bunch of the books that we've got upstairs, the actual botany books that we've got on the shelves. And we scroll down, and yeah, look at this. Looks exactly like a science, like an old botany science book. I love it. Contents. So I'm not going to stop too much, but here's a good example. So in almost all cultures, calendula have some connection to the sun. Greek mythology mentions a story about wood nymphs. I'll let you guys read that. But the basic premise is it's a source book for GMs who want to incorporate real earthbound plants and flora. I'm sleepy, leave me alone. Flora. Into their games and have them either as tangible, this is something that you can eat to sustain you, or as, for example, magical components. And I just really like how they've done this. I'm going to see if I can find. I did have.
Just in terms of, it looks like someone was asking about the UK shipping costs. With this one, they're saying it's going to be about $20 to $25 to get it shipped to the UK, just because I think it's based in the US. So that would be something to consider if you were going to get this.
That can change though, because it's with Exalted Funeral, and Exalted Funeral are currently setting up a UK and an EU shop, which that could come into force. This is supposed to fulfill at the beginning, first quarter of 22, I think. And they were originally planning on having their UK and EU shops by the end of August. I think there's been a bit of a delay on there, but if they do have those set up, that is going to drastically reduce those costs.
Yeah, I mean, Exalted Funeral have worked quite closely with Freya Ligan as well, because they had, I believe, something to do with a lot of the Mercury products, unless it's only the Stockholm Cartel that did that. But I'm sure there are some close ties there. And they've worked with a lot of other publishers over the years. So what they do is great. I think they probably do some stuff with Melsonian Arts as well.
They have the same editors, Fiona Maeve Geist and Jarrett Crader from Moonrat Conspiracy. They're doing the editing on this, the non-scientific editing, and they've worked with Troika, Ultraviolet Grasslands, and Merc Boy as well. So they have a lot of links throughout the industry. So they were originally planning on having the shipping sorted in August, even if that's pushed back a couple of months, it'll be before this fulfills. So I think those shipping prices will probably drop.
Yeah, I think so as well. Fingers crossed. It's hard to know. What I do know is that the creator of this, she's in Finland, so I can't imagine that she'd be too happy about screwing over Europe generally, because she's from Europe, and generally you don't do that. Although whether or not there's some rivalry between Finland and Sweden, I think only Martin from the four of us would know. Only on the rink, right?
I mean, I think maybe ask someone like Yoel in the comments, but
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think the Finns don't like it when other people call them Scandinavian. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Because they're not.
No.
But
no, absolutely. Andy says pretty, but I'll stick with Culpeper's Complete Herbal and DG Hessiania. I mean, fine, but that's not the same product at all. And nowhere in those books do you get some of the ludicrous things that you get in this. So, for example, I'm just going to scroll through because I looked at this earlier, but I stupidly closed it. Aconite. Commonly used in production of poisons, vermin repellents, anti-inflammatory medicines, and potions of flight. I love it. I love it so much.
This is such a good product.
It's just
really
amazing.
can't believe it.
And then you've got these great pictures. Large climbing perennial with snake-like vines, striking flowers, and deadly poison, often used for magic detection and wards.
That bit that you scroll past, Phil,
which bit?
Where on page 12,
what page
where it's got the
12.
It's got the sample plant.
Yeah.
And if you go down at the side, it's got that really cool color coding scheme where it's medicinal, protective, edible, psychoactive, poisonous. And then as you go through the plants, it's got the ones on each plant. So as you're going through, you can know kind of how you can use them in your game. If people want to use them for different purposes. Just the whole design of this is just sublime.
Excuse me. It's just awesome. Like there was one, was it you? I mean, this is a good one. Look, you've got culinary properties, flavoring for beer or gin. Medicinal properties, astringent, antiseptic, and diuretic. Magical properties, repels diseases, thieves, and unwelcome visitors from the spiritual realm. It's just great. I love this product so much. It's just,
It does kind of seem that this book would lend itself well to take into a LARP. Just being like, what do you mean? Of course it repels, pixies, for example. It's like, how do you not know this? It's in the book.
I think I think they even suggest in there that it's the kind of thing that if you were running a game and you had someone that was like a herbalist or something, you could just in game, you can hand them the book and go, that is the world's law on plants.
Yeah.
And then they have something that they can just refer to in game. I think that's an amazing idea. And I mean, the adventure seeds that are in there are really good towards the end of that. I think they start on page 34 on that preview.
There's a stretch goal of an actual adventure like scenario as well, which they
but
print,
it's really it actually seems really generous. The physical, because you're getting the book. You're also, now they've unlocked a notebook as well, a separate notebook. There's already a poster where you'll get the illustrations, and one of the further ones is like a pack of cards with the individual plants on them, I think, or maybe adventure seeds themselves. For is it $40?
I think it's hardly anything in terms of the value that it'll add. I'm very lucky that I can say that.
Of course.
But in terms of it, if you're looking for something like this for your table, if you have a herbalist or some kind of natural healer or even magical healer in your party, and you're playing a game that's probably more towards the contemporary or more historical setting, I think this is going to be really, really cool.
See, I could even see this being like a Fallout kind of a game, a post-apocalyptic type thing. So you've got somebody who's got all the relevant information for what they can actually do with the herbs and the plant life they can find, but they've still got some bizarre ideas about what these things can actually do as well as.
Yeah, and then that miracle of you see a wisp of green amongst the sea of rocks.
You need something to really get rid of that dragon you found. But then again, you did have that other potion the other day, and you've just taken it, and maybe that dragon doesn't exist.
So what you're saying is that this would be ideal in weird space?
Maybe. I mean, I've already got myself a fauna generator. Some kind of floral generator might not be a bad idea. Space plants.
If they sort of really hit him on the book. Yeah, you couldn't do that with the PDF. Actually, the other thing I really liked about this was that they're planning on providing it in multiple formats, including like Mobby and all that sort of stuff. So that's a really nice little touch.
And accessibility wise, it's not just that they're taking that and just putting it into an e-format. They're actually going to be making it more accessible. So they're going to be having like tags in their bookmarks, that ease of use, which, is a big thing in RPGs. Make it as accessible as possible, so as many people as you want can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really love the look of this book. I really want to talk. I could talk like for an extra hour about this book. I think it's awesome. We did tweet that we were going to discuss this. So Anna, if you're watching, let's get you on the show, please. Let's gush some more about your product. But let's move on. And let's talk about something that we mentioned actually previously. And in fact, I think in the last episode, but only kind of fleetingly. But I know Avril's quite interested in this one. Let's talk about Flamecraft. She's giggling.
Oof, it's getting close to £1 million now.
It's doing so well, and I'm waiting for payday right now just to get it.
Let's talk about it. So I have looked at this, but I haven't looked at this in a week since we looked at it last week. My understanding is it's kind of like a worker placement tabletop game where you play as dragons and you have like a little town and you make coffee and cake and sell shit and stuff. Does that sound about right?
It seems to be basically resource management, but it's dragons and little cakes and little meat tokens, and it's resource management but adorable, basically. It's the general gist that I'm getting from it.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's doing so well. I mean, we're role players, right? So we all like dragons. And these dragons have got the correct number of limbs by the look of it, which means a lot to me.
And I mean, there's things like plushie that you can add onto it, things like coasters, and it's just...
A plushie coaster?
Separate things. I mean, actually, that'd be great, but...
Weird.
Beside the point. I mean, it's right up my alley in the case of it's a nice resource management game, but I get an excuse to buy another plushie as well as...
A reason, not an excuse, a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need excuses. I really like it. I really do. And the only reason why I didn't back it is that we've got, in terms of resource management games, I mean, the closest we have is worker placement, like Champions of Midgard and Mintworks. And I've got a few others like Penny Lane, which I think probably come under that banner that just haven't been played. And that's not because we don't enjoy them. It's just because actually spare time in this house is kind of a rare beast at the moment. But I was really tempted by this. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Phil edition. So the standard edition, you get a bunch of cards and you get the meeples. Oh, they've upgraded the meeples. They look a lot better now. You can actually see what they are. Lots of tokens, coins, etc. Town map. Anything that comes with neoprene map is an automatic win. But the deluxe edition comes with these little bars of soap.
I mean, we fully know that I'm just going to be going for the deluxe edition because, I mean, look at those tiny little dragons.
They are really cool. And I think they've added some detail to these as well.
Plus, with the deluxe edition, it's stuff like you get wooden counters instead.
Instead of card.
Yeah. Instead of punch out card, it's there's little wooden tokens.
Those punching videos are going to be really dull. But yeah, and you get. I think didn't they partner with? There we go. Game Trays for their inserts. Game Trays makes awesome inserts, so that actually makes a big difference. Because it just means that your setup time's a lot quicker because you just pull the whole thing out and there you go, boom, you're done. None of this finding little trays and opening baggies every single time you want to play, which, I mean, if you're time poor, that 10-15 minutes when you're only playing a game that's going to take half an hour to 45 minutes actually really matters.
All those elastic bands that are probably going to break that you use to put cards together, and hopefully they're all in the right piles. And
they'll damage your cards as well.
I love a well-organized game box. It's just so much easier for everything.
So if you like a well-organized game box, let us know in the comments. And Andy says, yeah, those trays are interesting. I agree. You definitely are.
I mean, just as a whole, as you said, it does make it kind of quicker, though, to play it, which is the main thing. You're not going, well, where's this one specific token that I need? It's in an area. It's in a little section of its own.
Yeah. I'm tempted to play Can We Spot the Blue Terminator? These? No. No. Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to, you are, but
we won a little dragon in the background. It's like that one there. I need your clothes, your boots, and your pointy hat.
No. I just realised whenever we flash up a comment, Avril disappears. Sorry, Avril. Avril had a plushie. Okay. There we go.
Stitch, we're close enough.
I'm not seeing the Terminator resemblance, if I'm honest. Hang on, let's there we go. I mean, it's kind of got the same number of limbs.
Yeah, there we go.
But yes, anyway, whilst we're getting derailed, Flamecraft. Let's look at the pricing. So the standard edition, relatively cheap, 30 quid, $40. The deluxe edition, double that.
Yeah, but you do get double the game.
Well, you get the same amount of game, don't you? But
you get better tokens, better this, better that, better everything else.
I think tactility is important when you're playing a board game. I really do. I know a lot of people don't, and they consider it just cosmetic, but I actually think it changes the gaming experience a little bit. Maybe because I'm just really unimaginative. And yeah, let's have a look actually and see how well it's doing. So £989,000, $1,355,000. You can bet your ass that they did not expect this amount of success.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No. What was their? Yeah, there we go. They needed $18,000.
What was the top stretch goal on this one?
I think they've added to them. Let's have a look.
Right, so their stretch goal goes up to 775,000. Then the sort of keeps a bit on.
Yeah, and we're here and we're still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. So
the fact that this bit's on a secondary scroll, it tells me that they've had to add to stuff just to try and keep the momentum going.
Which means that they were hoping to get to here.
Yeah, they were hoping. They weren't expecting to get more than $775,000.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's quite a lot for a game, but good grief, has it gone past that?
I think you get to a point though where actually, Stitch is a small blue Terminator, says you are. I think you get to a point though where you have to actually draw the line, and Free League are very good at this. I think they know what their stretch goals are going to be by and large, and then you actually put a ceiling on, and you get to a point where you say, do you know what? If we add any more, it's really going to affect production. So let's stop here. Hopefully they've done that, and maybe they've just moved some of those goalposts when they realised that the game was doing much better than they were planning. So hopefully, like this one at 1.5 mil, maybe originally that was going to be at 700, and they've just spread the goals out more, which would be good. That would mean that their profit margins are going to be much better because they haven't added extra stuff. But whether or not they've done that, who knows? So yeah, Flamecraft, cute, gorgeous, has coffee. What more do you need? No, it's a serious question. What more do you need? Come on.
So we've got dragons on the list and we've got coffee on the list.
Yeah.
No, that pretty much covers everything.
Cake? Probably got cake. Must have cake. It's a little village shop. There's got to be a bakery there. Right.
Yeah, there will be.
Martin.
Yes.
Talk to me about the Exquisite corpse in Maggots Keep.
Okay, so maybe we should talk about this and Innsmouth as a kind of pairing, as a comparison.
Yes, but I'm only going to show this one because otherwise it gets complicated.
Yeah,
we can go to the other one afterwards. Let's talk about what these two campaigns are.
Okay, so they're both. Well, this is listed as an interactive adventure game book, and Innsmouth is a branching narrative game book. So they're both, those kind of create your own adventure, read along, turn to a page, dependent on what your choice is. They're both approaching it from very different directions, I think. I think the Exquisite Corp in Maggots Keep is very interesting.
Yeah.
Both in the way they've approached the Kickstarter and in the content itself. There is a free preview, which is just above that picture you're on now, I think. Play our preview in Twine right now. You can click on that. You can have a read through, click through some options, get a good idea. But
yeah,
I think what makes this stand out to me is that this is a project where you have 11 different authors on board.
Yeah.
And that is something that is very interesting to me because it's a create your own adventure, but with each choice that you make, you're getting a different voice and you're getting a different narrative and you're getting a different worldview. Someone is coming in with their take on what is happening, and I think that can create a very interesting take on this, because quite often these books are written by one or just a small handful of people. With 11 different authors, you've got a chance for a real interesting story by the time you come to the end of it. And all those branching paths. I think they haven't actually funded yet, which
that's a real surprise, but they're not far off.
To me is I think it kind of shows what Kickstarter is like at the moment. People are very much they expect to see a low level for the initial funding, and then for loads and loads of stretch goals to kind of stretch out from there. And I think for some creators that is becoming a something that is putting a lot of pressure on them when they create something like this, when they have a vision. If that vision doesn't match how people are looking at Kickstarters, it can very much affect that. So I mean, with 11 authors, you're getting something which I think is unique here. And then I think there's a later stretch goal if they do meet funding, which I really hope, and I'm sure they will. There's 2 further authors that will come on board. So in total, there'll be 13 authors, which will extend it. It'll give more paths to go through. And I just like it. I like the artwork, the writing I've read so far. I really like. I think the reward levels are fairly priced. Maybe a little bit more than some people would expect. But again, if you follow them, I think Sandy Pug Games very much kind of behind this. I know it's created by Gabriel Commissar, but I think the writers are from the Sandy Pug co-op, and they've talked a lot on Twitter about making sure that people are fairly rewarded for their work.
Yes. Which is kind of uncommon, and there's quite a lot of chatter at the moment about how awful it can be working for a real games company versus being an independent. There's quite a lot of controversy about that right now, and there are some companies that are being talked about as effectively exploiting their workers because, you know, you should be grateful for the exposure. And it's the same with many industries, with, you know, professional photography, and even as a musician, up until the point where you make it and you then become a cash cow for your publisher, you're just lucky if you can feed yourself. You know,
and it's got Sandy Pug behind it, and they have done 10 million hit point planet, and their backer kit is still open for Monster Care Squad, which is like a kind of Ghibli-esque RPG, and now they're running this, or that they're part of this. I just think it would be a real shame if this didn't fund. They've got 22 days left. I'm sure it will. I would love to see them reach some of their stretch goals. And if you live in the US and you have $5,000 just lying around, you can go for the top tier reward and get an actual, honest to goodness coffin delivered to your door with a skeleton in it. Why don't you go and do that and help them complete funding right now?
It is a fake skeleton, unfortunately. But I'm
even
sure that
so,
you
still get a coffin.
So does that mean, Martin, that you've backed this?
Not yet. I am backing it this week when I get some money going in.
When you find the courage.
Yeah. No, I am backing it. I am backing it. It is something that I am. You know what? While we are live on stream, back this project.
Ooh.
There we go. Back this project.
Backed.
The Exquisite paperback, the Exquisite hardcover. Only 29 left of the Exquisite hardcover. US 60 or more. There we go.
Yeah, I would go with the hardcover if I were to back it.
Continue.
Boom.
Card number.
Yep, read that out. That's fine.
No.
What's Martin back?
Keep going.
Incredible project.
3 numbers on the back.
No. Where's my cards? There. Okay.
Let's talk about Innsmouth. So we were talking pre-stream with one of our favorite friends from Sweden, Joel, who is a huge fan of Call of Cthulhu, who made a very poignant remark about this game. Before I continue, I should say that this is another adventure game book. I'm presuming it's therefore going to be a choose your own adventure, to which Joel said, why don't you just play a solo Call of Cthulhu campaign? I think that's a really fair question. But there are probably some quite good answers, like maybe you don't want to learn Call of Cthulhu. Maybe you just want to harken back to, you know, the 80s for the old game book thing. I mean, I don't have my original copy, but I still have a copy of various Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone books, including, of course, Death Trap Dungeon, and a signed copy of Starship Traveller, that famous Steve Jackson book, which has been signed by Ian Livingstone. That's a long story we'll tell one day. Only signed by Ian Livingstone and not by Steve Jackson. However, right, this is a Lovecraft game book, and I really like the look of it in terms of the artwork. It's not the first game book that this guy has done. It's the first one, a Kickstarter. And yeah, you play as a PI looking for a missing child. I just really like the style. I mean, the stretch goals were a little bit strange. Just more pictures. Hopefully that means more pages as well, and not just they're taking pages away from text, because that text is quite important, separated images. We don't really know whether that's actually growing the size of the book, or if they're just using it as an excuse to put filler in which case they were probably going to do it anyway. We've got nothing to compare it against, so we don't really know. Nice little bookmark. Seems to be almost reusing images. It's not quite identical to the one above. End of each paragraph. Yeah, it's a game book. You either have to go back, you have no choice, you've died, or one of several choices. So for those of us who played Death Trap Dungeon or whatever, when we were younger, or even in the last couple of weeks or today, it's a very kind of established format. You look in the cabin window and see a man slumped on the floor. He looks at you with staring, unblinking eyes and reaches an arm up in what looks like a call for help. Should you help the man and open the cabin door, or get off the boat as fast as you can? I love film noir stuff, so that kind of noir feeling is definitely very much here. And I like the artwork. This reminds me of the artwork in the Deadlands Noir core book, which is great as far as I'm concerned. And that's a signed book plate you can get. And yeah, they've done a previous Kickstarter that's available. And there were some other things that were add-ons, which we'll get to in a bit, which you can just buy. So I think it's worth pointing out that the add-ons for this, if you get those through this Kickstarter, they are more expensive than if you just go to a bookshop and buy it. Particularly in the UK, it might not be the same in the US, but of course we have VAT. That's not true. We don't have VAT on printed media currently, but that probably changed now we've got Brexit. But you've got shipping, and obviously that adds on to it. So things are sometimes not as cheap as they otherwise would have been. But that said, let's have a look at the add-ons, because as I said, they've got like these art books, graphic novels. You get an idea of the presentation at least and the quality of the book. So you could quite easily, I don't know how long we've got left, 12 days to go. You could quite easily order one of their other books just to get a feel for what their print quality is like and their attention to detail. And then if you like it, plonk your wallet down and give it a try. It's not overly expensive. £6 for the PDF.
That's reasonable.
£10 with investigator sheets. What's different? That one's hyperlinked, so it's a bit more of a smart one. That's kind of a no-brainer. You'd get the hyperlinked one if you're running off a tablet rather than just printing it out. And then, yeah, paperback, £12. And then you've got the paperback with extra stuff, £20. And then it goes up and up. And yeah, even the most expensive is not awful for what you get. Let's get right to that. So even ignoring that one, £48, and you get download and print stuff, hardback edition of the book, bookmark, print, vinyl sticker, signed book plate, an art print, and an embroidered patch. If you like your tat, it's not overly expensive. Of course, we don't know how many pages there are right from there, but it probably says so somewhere in.
Oh, it said something like 600 entries at the beginning, which would make it the size of a decent sized novel.
Exactly. No idea from here, but I'm sure it'll be fine. A couple of hundred pages, I would expect. So I think if you're interested in Lovecraftian terrors, you could probably do worse. Well, my friends, it's been an hour and 20. Do we want one more?
Yeah, go on then.
One more. What should we go with? I'm kind of interested in this one, and it's probably worth looking at just because it's something a bit different. Asset. I haven't quite wrapped my brain around how this works. but I love the style of it. And the author, Gabriel Quiroga, did Neurosity and Warpland, both of which are on my shelf. They're not in shrink wrap because they didn't come shrink wrapped. But they're really cool. Really cool. Neurosity is kind of, or Neurocity, however you want to call it. He does like his play on words. It's like a cyberpunk noir kind of thing. And Warpland is post-apoc, sort of. It's a mixture of post-apocalyptic and sort of dystopian future with a few other things going on. And the artwork is just phenomenally gorgeous and very, very intense. It's kind of Mad Maxian style, but a lot of those sort of psychedelic 70s and 80s influences there. This, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite. I mean, you know, if you actually scroll through and look at it, it's very minimalist. And my understanding is that effectively you're playing as a monk, and you're going through effectively a spiritual journey, and you're being tempted by metaphorical or real demons to kind of stray from your path. There was in the updates a comment about the actual gameplay, a little bit more about the artwork. Players take turns to interpret a monk seeking enlightenment, while the rest of the players take the role of demons, which present different temptations or situations, each one narrated with its own description, more than 60 small stories. It will be the ascetic monk's duty to choose a temptation that better fits his personal virtues, which are always hidden from the rest of the players and have values from 1 to 10. Players interpreting the monks, this is a bit I didn't quite get my head around. Players interpreting the monks will then roll to resist the chosen temptation and thus ascend one step towards illumination. So I think there's probably a little bit more refinement of those explanations to come. But the character sheet is just that. The thing that turned me off a little bit was that it basically said, you're guessing your opponent's strengths and weaknesses in a mathematical mnemonical order. I hate that word. Ordeal, rather. So yeah, it's a mathematical game, but it's also a role-playing game. It's also a card game. It's kind of interesting.
Right, so you got a bunch of demons trying to figure out the stats of the monk.
I think.
So it's like a really weird version of Top Trumps.
Yeah, bottom trumps.
Yeah, mixed with For the Queen. It sounds like. I don't know if you've played. Yeah, it kind of sounds like those two ideas kind of blended together. So you're trying to tell a story of this monk's journey with the mechanics kind of interpreting.
Monk and the Mechanics, was that?
Yeah. with the mechanics kind of playing the role of where he takes his next step on his path.
And he steps on and goes,
asceticism.
Oh, it's gonna cost you.
It looks interesting to me. I think I would need a bit more about the mechanics.
Yes, that's the thing. I have backed this, but I need more before I don't cancel it. Gabriel, as I said, does make beautiful products, and so I am confident that it will be absolutely stunning and probably actually a pretty good game. That said, ironically, it feels like it would be a bet on faith right now. And I kind of don't like doing that too much. Intriguing, isn't it? But let's look at the pricing. Pricing is actually pretty low. $25.
Oh, for an entire card game.
Yeah. And that's it. One pledge level.
Plus postage.
Oh yeah, plus postage.
And import fees.
I just really hope that he's getting this printed by someone like Cartamundi or the United States playing cards company, rather than doing it as a drive-through RPG cards print, because that is so expensive.
I mean, their cards are fine, but it costs a heck of a lot.
Unless you're in the US, in which case it's all right. But to my experience so far, whenever I've gotten cards through DriveThruRPG, they've had to be printed in the US and imported, and then you have import duties and you have shipping and all that other stuff, and they're not exempt from VAT either. So yeah, it gets horrible.
Yeah, I spent a fortune on the Yellow King role-playing game. Cards. They printed the first batch of those through DTRPG. I got them, and then a couple of weeks later, they said, "Oh, we found another supplier," and I was like, "Okay, what?" So
not fun.
No.
I'm interested in that game, Yellow King, by the way. It just looks so awesome, and it's got that amazing case to it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
phenomenal
game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Yes.
So yeah, asset, which is a pun on the word asset, as in a thing, and on ascetic being the type of monk. That's a deliberate pun. As I said, he likes his puns, hence neurocity, neurosity, kind of being a play on neurotic as well. I think that's pretty much our show. Those of you who are still watching, is there anything that we have missed? Is there anything that you'd like us to talk about next time? Please let us know in the comments. Not sure what we've got coming up in terms of Kickstarters over the next week. It's a bit of a strange time right now, which means that we get to spot all these kind of weird little projects, and some of those unexpected projects just seem to rise meteorically. I think it's really interesting that Flamecraft has done so well, but I guess in part that might just be because a lot of RPG funds have gone to that, the game with the Smurfs in space avatar, and there hasn't really been that much in the way of board games. I did see that there's a new Nova ATES game. Totally forgotten what it's called. I'm not going to look it up because that's rude. That's just launched. That looks beautiful. We might talk about it over the next coming couple of shows. But I think that and Simon have got the new He-Man game, which none of us will be able to buy because we're not in the US. So yeah, for now, I would say that's probably it. Thank you everyone for watching.
Finishing.
Go on. Couple finishing, yes.
Yes. There's Mouse Ritter is due to finish soon.
Good point. Mouse Ritter, 4 days on that. I have backed that. That's your fault, Martin.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
Everyone should back
it.
I'm going to make you run it.
Everyone should back it. It's beautiful. You should do it. And when you get it, you should do an Avril and you should sniff it. Definitely.
It's a box. But we're not telling people to sniff the box on this show. Oh, okay, yeah.
I will.
Sniff
the box.
Sniff the box.
Sniff it.
Sniff the box.
Ex Libris by Merkboy. Ex Libris Merkboy. It's a digital platform cataloging, showcasing RPG content. It's a really cool thing. It's got 63 hours left. I would
Let's very
recommend
quickly look at that,
it.
actually, because we've never talked about that. So let me just bring that up very quickly. We have spoken about Mouse Ritter before. It's easy to find because the picture of that is on the splash art. But let's quickly look at Ex Libris.
So one of the reasons that Merkboy,
not a lot of art here.
The major reason that Merkboy was successful is because of how good it was. But another one of the reasons is because this project was set up, which was cataloging and presenting all of the third-party content. Merkboy has an open license. You can produce for it by just putting a little bit of text in saying it's compatible with Merkboy, and then this is a set of tools to be able to catalog RPG content, and what they're wanting to actually eventually do is to roll it out for other games. So they've created this back end which allows them to catalog all of this content, and they're wanting to roll it out for other games that have open licenses, like Mouse Ritter, like Wander Home, like Troika. And if you want to see indie RPGs with open licenses succeed, this is an amazing tool to back, because it will grow that. It will help people to grow in the indie scene. I think it's a great platform to back. It's not going to get you anything physical.
No,
you're not going to get a swanky book or anything like that. You're going to get access to their tools, and you can use them yourself. You'd be able to use them for Weird Space, Paul. It's got this kind of this tool set that you can use, so you'd be able to put everything to do with Weird Space up there. And people, I don't know what kind of license you've got for Weird Space, but if you did have an open license, you'd be able to allow people to produce content for it and categorize it and let people access it really easily. So
yeah,
that's something I've been looking at, actually, because the idea of other people doing like adventures or aliens or planets or something that people can explore in my system would frankly be a massive ego boost.
Yeah, well, get a license out there, and it's as simple as looking at like Troika or Merc Boy. They have very simple licenses. You can copy it very easily, and then you could use something like Ex Libris to build your own, curate your own content library.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you know our show at all, we've done a few Merc Boy actual plays, and we'll do more. I love the system because it's just easy, and it means I don't have to use what little brain I've got very much, which is always appreciated. And the modules are always very well written by the community, which really helps. Very little prep, but tools like Ex Libris are actually really helpful, and they've produced quite a lot of other tools, as in Stockholm Cartel have, which really help the experience. And as Martin said, their license is phenomenal. It's basically, you can make stuff for our game using our system, using our stylistic guidelines, and mostly the only rule is don't be a dick. I'm a big fan of that. So, if you're a big fan of the Merc Boy license or similar games, similar sort of community feel, I think it's actually a very, very good idea to back this product, and products like this that actually feed back into the gaming community. And that's actually one of the main reasons why we did the Dark Orb, is that we've been taking quite a lot from the community, and I certainly felt, well, if I can't find an hour once a week to try and give something back, then that's not very fair. And that comes back to the community thing of, actually, there are a lot of us trying to do the same thing, and there's no reason why we can't help each other. So yeah, have a look at Ex Libris. The campaign, the page, it's kind of bad. It just is. Lots and lots of text. You can tell this is pretty much written, I would imagine, by a developer. But the video actually really covers off what it is. The pledge levels are really just about how much you want to help the project. It's as simple as that. It's how much you want to help the community. I can imagine that any level that you back at, even if it's just a couple of dollars, let's have a look and see what the lowest level is.
The best thing to do is to go to xlibrisrpg.com, because it's live. I mean, exactly. It exists already, so you can go there, you can see what they already provide. This is just to give them a bit of money for what they've already done and to help it grow. So exactly, so it's like a maintenance payment, really, isn't it? It's saying, hey, this tool's really cool, I'd like to use it more. It's almost like going back to shareware. For those of us of a certain age where video games came on a cassette tape, shareware games are pretty much, you play it for a bit and it's free. But if you really want to kind of get a proper license for it and actually help the developers to feel like what they've done is worth it, chuck them a couple of quid. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And so with that lovely 80s reference, think now is a good time to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you for those who have contributed in the comments. So that is thank you to Yoel, to Andy, to Bruce, and to Neil. Yeah, that's all we have the comments for. Thank you to Martin for joining again. Thank you to Paul, and thank you, Avril, for joining us. Hope to see you all again on some more of our streams coming in the future. Hoping to get a couple of interviews over the next few weeks with some interesting designers. We're probably about due an actual play at some point over the next few weeks as well. So hopefully we'll get at least something on soon.
I might be able to sort that.
Which one? Which one?
The actual play.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll run you a weird space thingy.
I really am looking forward to that. We'll get a party together. We'll get a date together. If you want to know when that is, please please subscribe to the YouTube, and you'll get a notification when we've scheduled that. We've got a Twitter, we've got Facebook. If you want to join in discussions, please join our Discord. The link's below. If you want some of our swag, we've got some stuff on Redbubble. The link's down there as well, along with links to the main projects that we spoke about today. So thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope to see you all very soon. And in the meantime, I hope that your dice rolls are way better than mine. Take care, everyone. Ciao.